Commander Zethkar flexed his forearms in satisfaction as he gazed at the tactical display aboard the Dominion's claw. The blue-green world below them spun peacefully, unaware that its fate had already been sealed in the halls of the galactic hegemony. Such a primitive species, sneered his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vexari, her crystalline carapace gleaming under the bridge's violet lights. Carbon-based, bipedal, barely capable of rudimentary spaceflight. The Council was right to classify them as negligible threat level. Zethkar nodded, his mandibles clicking in agreement. The hegemony had catalogued thousands of species across the galaxy, and humans ranked among the weakest they'd encountered. No natural armor, no venomous capabilities, no telepathic abilities, and laughably short lifespans. Their technology was centuries behind even the most basic hegemony member worlds. "Deploy the invasion fleet," he commanded. "Standard subjugation protocol. The humans will serve as laborers in the Outer Rim mining colonies." The massive hegemony, fleet, 200 vessels strong, descended toward Earth's atmosphere. Zethkar expected the usual response: panicked surrender, desperate pleas for mercy, perhaps a few futile attempts at resistance that would be crushed within hours. What he didn't expect was silence. "Sir," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving no response to our surrender demands." "Perhaps their primitive technology cannot receive our transmissions," Vexari suggested. "Shall we proceed with bombardment of their major population centers?" Before Zethkar could respond, proximity alarms began shrieking across the bridge. The tactical display erupted in red warnings as hundreds of new contacts appeared around the fleet, contacts that hadn't been there moments before. "Where did they come from?" Zethkar roared, his four eyes darting across the readings. "Unknown, sir. They appear to be small vessels, single or two-person craft, but the readings are unusual." Unusual was an understatement. The human ships defied every conventional understanding of space combat. They were tiny compared to hegemony vessels, no larger than fighters, yet they moved with impossible agility. They didn't follow standard attack formations or engage at safe distances. Instead, they dove directly into the heart of the hegemony fleet like predators attacking prey. "Impossible," Vexari whispered, as she watched a human craft barrel roll between two massive hegemony destroyers, somehow avoiding their overlapping fields of fire. No organic being could survive those G-forces. The first hegemony ship exploded in a brilliant flash, then another, and another. "Sir, the humans appear to be targeting our reactor cores directly," the tactical officer reported, his voice strained with disbelief. "They're flying inside our ship's shields, using our own defensive systems against us." Zethkar watched in horror as a human pilot, in a craft barely larger than an escape pod, somehow slipped through the energy barrier of their largest dreadnought and disappeared into its superstructure. Moments later, the kilometer-long vessel cracked in half, its fusion reactors going critical. "This is impossible," he snarled. "No species fights like this. Where's their command structure, their battle formations, their self-preservation instincts?" As if in answer to his question, a transmission crackled through the bridge speakers. It was in broken galactic standard, spoken with a heavy accent that somehow made it sound even more ominous. "Hegemony Fleet, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Corps. You came to our home. You threatened our families. You called us weak." The human's voice carried a cold fury that made Zethkar's internal temperature drop. "We're about to show you what human weakness looks like." The assault intensified. Human pilots performed maneuvers that should have liquefied their organs, threading their ships through spaces that seemed physically impossible to navigate. They rammed hegemony vessels when their weapons ran dry, ejecting at the last second only to be picked up by their comrades. Some didn't eject at all. "They're not fighting to win," Vexari realized, her voice filled with dawning terror. "They're fighting to make us pay the highest price possible for every meter of space." A human fighter streaked past the bridge viewport, so close that Zethkar could see the pilot inside, a young female with determination etched on her alien features. She raised one hand in what he would later learn was called a salute before. Her ship slammed into the Dominion's claw's primary weapons array. The explosion rocked the massive vessel. and through the smoke and chaos more human ships appeared. These were larger vessels, crude by hegemony standards, but bristling with weapons that seemed designed for one purpose, making things explode as violently as possible. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a general transmission from the planet's surface." "Put it through," Zethkar commanded, though he dreaded what he might hear. The voice that emerged was different from the first, older, gruffer, but carrying the same underlying steel. "This is Admiral Rebecca Torres, Terran Defense Corps. You have 30 seconds to begin retreat procedures before we stop being polite." "Polite?" Vexari shrieked. "They call this polite?" As if summoned by her words, new contacts appeared on the display. Massive human vessels, battleships that dwarfed even hegemony dreadnoughts, emerged from behind Earth's moon. They were ugly, brutish things that looked like they'd been built in a scrapyard, but the energy readings from their weapons made Zethkar's blood freeze. "Retreat," he commanded. "Full retreat. All ships emergency jump to hyperspace." As the surviving hegemony vessels fled Earth's solar system, Zethkar stared at the casualty reports in disbelief. 2/3 of their fleet destroyed or disabled, by a species the Council had classified as negligible threat level. "Update the human classification in the galactic database," he ordered quietly. "What should I put, sir?" asked the communications officer. Zethkar looked out at the stars, where human ships still prowled like apex predators protecting their territory. "Mark them as avoid at all costs, and add a special note." "What note, sir?" "Never under any circumstances threaten a human's home. They don't fight wars, they fight extinction events, and they're very, very good at it." In the depths of space, the human ships watched the alien fleet disappear into hyperspace. Captain Chen's voice crackled across the comm channels, tired but satisfied. "Torres here. All ships return to base, and someone send a message to the shipyards. I want production of the new dreadnoughts tripled. Something tells me word is going to get around that Earth isn't as defenseless as it looks." But as the human fleet regrouped, a simple message was transmitted across the galaxy in 100 different languages. "Humanity extends peaceful greetings to all sentient species. We hope for friendship and cooperation among the stars. However, we feel it necessary to clarify one point. We are not weak. We are not helpless. And we are definitely not defenseless. We are simply choosing to be peaceful. Please do not mistake our restraint for inability. The universe is large enough for all of us, but only if we all remember to be respectful neighbors." The message was signed simply, "With hope for peaceful coexistence but prepared for any alternative, the humans." Across the galaxy, alien species read the transmission and quietly updated their own databases. Earth was marked with a new classification, one that had never been used before. "Sleeping giant, do not wake.